Yo, what they do. I'm your host, Aaron J. Jackson, also known as Marvin Bay. I welcome you to the 34th episode of Behind the Beard podcast, presented by the Fuck Going Out Network. And right here, we got the homie, Russell
Yo.
Hamilton.
What's happening?
What's good?
Cooling it, bro.
How's your day going so far?
Yeah, it's going. It's a beautiful day out here, man. We in Lamert Park with
Most
it.
definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Give thanks.
It's crazy because, I used to hear Lamert Park do Dom, so I'm actually here out here. So it's just crazy how I'm in Lamert Park.
Yeah.
For the people that don't know who you are, introduce yourself.
All right, so I'm Russell Hamilton, man. Multidisciplinary artist out of Atlanta. First generation, man. Big up Jamaica.
Yeah, most definitely.
Scene. But yeah, just a overall creative. You know what I'm saying? Driven by black culture.
Most definitely.
You know what I mean? Right here, we in LA with it now. Moved out here from Atlanta, so we just kind of like sawing some more roots out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, most definitely. So since the quarantine started, what you have been doing so far?
Man, quarantine, bro. It's been an array of things, man. You know what I'm saying? Like when quarantine first jumped off, as did for a lot of people, it kind of like threw the monkey wrench.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything that was in the queue. But since then, I feel like I've really been diving into a lot of my personal passion projects, man. I think this time has showed us that you really got to be self-sustainable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And leaning too much on the industry or whatever can leave you out there, you know what I'm saying, assed out. And
yeah, most definitely.
I've always been a do for myself type of dude anyways, but I think quarantine just kind of like made me up a notch, like several notches. So
would you say, my bad to cut you off, but would you say that more like in the mental state, in the mental state of mind?
I'll say creatively and mentally, man. Again, when it first jumped off, I think my initial approach was like, all right, I'm gonna be super productive right now. I'm gonna try to knock this out, but boom. It ain't work like that.
Nah, it didn't. Because it's like, where can you go? Like, it's nowhere you can go.
But what I quickly realized was that that's not the process, man. What you got to do is you got to spend just as much time trying to be productive as you do being still, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Being still and really listening and like honing in to yourself. I think it forced us, me in particular, to just do a lot of inventory on self, you know what I'm saying? And assess like where your headspace is at and what your intention is behind, the creative endeavors that you're doing. Because I think the frequency different now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it changed the whole consciousness has shifted to where some of the things that we might have been dabbling in beforehand, it's not gonna hold water no more. You know what I'm saying? It's irrelevant now because we on a whole different wavelength. So I think it really forced me to assess the work that I was doing and kind of just approach it with a little bit more intention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as far as like getting the passion projects off, man, anything that I might have had on the shelf, anything that I might have kind of just been procrastinating on, man, I kind of like try to throw myself into it, you know what I'm saying, some more.
I agree, because with me, it was just like, I just came to realize, okay, we can't go nowhere. So I was just like, you know what, let me read these books I always wanted to.
Yeah.
Let me do stuff around the house that I always said I was going to do, but I never did. So it's
got
kind
my domestic skills up, bro. Like,
I
can whip it up.
Yeah, you feel me? Cooking, I was cooking too. I never really cooked like that until now. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the fundamental things, man, that we kind of like overlooked. And I feel like now that things are starting to, I'm not saying things are getting back to normal. I think we're just learning, we're getting more accustomed to the parameters, right?
Yeah.
And I think what I'm realizing is that I don't want to go back to that normal. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get caught up in what I call the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure I keep that balance of creative work life, but then also, you know what I'm saying, self-care, you know what I'm saying, mental health space, and just continue to keep a balance of nurturing both, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because with the quarantine, I was kind of really happy. I was like one of the, I guess, happiest time of my life, honestly. Even though we were dealing with what we deal with in the world, it was just more like, I read these books every day, like, just understanding life, stuff that I never really learned, you know what I'm saying, and new skills on top of that.
It's refinement.
Exactly. What I can only imagine you read some books. What was some books that you was reading?
Keep it real with you, man. I tapped into the bell hooks, you know what I'm saying, all about love, just to kind of get my love game right.
Yeah.
But to be real with you, man, as far as books, I've been watching more like films and stuff, you know what I'm saying?
I can imagine.
I've been digging more into, getting deeper into my archival process, you know what I'm saying, watching a lot of film and like interviews, you know what I'm saying, researching that. Not to say that I have a short attention span, but I just find that when I'm reading, man, like my mind, I want to see something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same.
So I think I'm still kind of working on that as far as buckling down and like reading something cover to cover. You dig what I'm saying?
Like, it ain't easy because it's really time consuming.
Yeah. You know? But you know what? Like the time consuming element, man. I'm realizing that might be an excuse, bro. Because as much time as we spend scrolling, you dig what I'm saying? We spend a lot of time scrolling and reading foolishness, bro. So I think that's one thing I gotta acknowledge within myself, man. To just hone in a little bit more on my literature. Man.
So you talked about being from Jamaica, your nationality is Jamaican, and growing up in Atlanta. How was your upbringing growing up from those places?
It was interesting, bro. It's like, as an adult now, I can realize the significance in it. But coming up, it's like you get a dual perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm the only American in my household. You know.
Okay.
So my household is full Jamaican, and it's a certain setting, it's a certain ethic within the home. But then you go to school. You know what I'm saying? And it's all the way Atlanta for real. So you get to you get a dual perspective of kind of being on the outside looking in, but being very aware of what it's like to be on the inside, because you know what I'm saying, your peers, your friends that you are your best friends and you growing up with come from a Black American experience. You know what I'm saying? And then your household is Jamaican, which has its own entity, culture and legacy in and of itself. So I think it helped me to kind of empathize a lot, you know what I mean, and be a little bit more compassionate with the experience, with the Black American experience, so that now as an adult, man, I can see our strengths and our weaknesses in a way, you know what I'm saying, and vice versa with Jamaica too.
Especially, coming from Miami, where it's a Caribbean city. You start to understand, like, how when I travel like places like Atlanta, I forget that I'm Black American because I'm so used to the Caribbean atmosphere that it's like, oh, okay, it's a little bit different. The different climax of how people are, you know what I'm saying, and how they grew up. So it's just like, I definitely understand when you're coming from, like, all right, and your house is like, okay.
Because another element of it is like, it's a regional experience, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Southern Black experience is going to be different from the Northern Black experience, or, you know what I'm saying, the Western Black experience. So I think it allowed me to just really hone in on the multiplicity, right, of the experience that we have as Black Americans, specific to the South, because it's its own set of customs and ethics altogether.
Most definitely. So when did you start picking up a camera? Like, when did you start photography on top of that?
Like, I kind of always been around cameras to a degree, man. Like, I got 2 older brothers, man, and my eldest brother, he, when he was in high school, he went to Tri-Cities High School. That's a performing arts high school in Atlanta. And that's the same school that Big Boy, Dre 3000, Outkast went to, man. A whole bunch of Atlanta legends came out of there. But in that performing arts program, he picked up a camera. And of course, this is back in the era of shooting film. And I want to say there was like some kind of competition of some degree where he photographed me. And I was about 3 at that time, you know what I'm saying? But I just remember being 3 and like, acknowledging that, okay, this tool is gonna take a photo of me and I'm gonna see the image later. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of I've always, I guess, taken a liking to the medium. You know what I'm saying? But I'll say, like, I was that kid in, middle school, high school with the little digital camera, little Casio joint. You know what I'm saying? Shooting there, little videos and whatnot, catching the fights. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy how, like, the small things matter.
Bro, it go a long way. It's crazy for real. But yeah, like, fast forward, MySpace was booming. Like, I was kind of taking little pictures for that, designing my MySpace on my
HTML.
own. Bro, it's crazy, bro. It's like, I realized, bro, I was coding at an early age and didn't realize it, bro.
Facts,
You know what I'm saying? Tumblr, where all of that. So, as far as, like, taking pictures around the school for folks' Facebook and stuff, tagging them. Because, back in the day, having a gang of tagged pictures was, like, a thing, right? But I'll say for real, man, in 2010 when I graduated, I got a little Canon 20D.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a Canon 20D, man, and I started shooting. I would just have homies pull up, like it was a room in my crib where it was just like a white wall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the traditional white wall, man, pull up with the camera. At that time, the Canon was just like the status quo of quality or whatever. So our digital cameras, rather. So that's kind of where I kind of got started in just doing photo shoots, man. But I think yeah, just kind of always being around that atmosphere or being knowledgeable of cameras, you know, and knowing what they do. I think that I naturally just leaned into it. And even as far as like some of my early subject matter, bro, outside of shooting just the homies here and there, I was really, really big on like National Geographic, bro. Yeah. So I was like photographing nature, you know what I'm saying? Landscape.
I think that's where everybody start.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Mad nature, bro, landscape shit. I'm like, nigga, I'm taking pictures of moss on tree barks and shit. You dig what I'm saying? And then I got real heavy into photographing cars. And I'll say that was really my jump off as far as like my creative eye was concerned, was like learning how to photograph vehicles and stuff like that. And then that came full circle, you know, moving out here with the lowrider culture, you know what I'm saying? It was a cohesion there, you know. So
what photographers inspired you to, you know, get more into photography, you know, because when you started seeing other photographers that was just like, damn, who's that, and you kind of apply it to your work.
Man, it's a few of them, man. Gordon Parks, you got to get Gordon Parks his propers, man, because he's one of those. I look at him as a multidisciplinarian too. You know what I mean? Because his style of photography, he did everything. He did editorial. He did, you know, the abstract. You know, he did documentary style. So I think just coming up as a kid, learning about Black history and always seeing his images, I think that's the kind of first reference of like what a polished photographer's work looks like.
Look like us.
And he looked like us. You know what I'm saying? And next, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give propers to Jonathan Mannion, man.
You know, I met him one time.
Yeah, I done met him a couple times. Cool dude, super cool, very humble, man. And I think his work as just a hip hop fan, you know what I mean, just being familiar with his work. That's another thing too about dope photographers, is like you become familiar with their work before you realize who they are as individuals, you know. So when you realize who it is, it's a full circle moment again. But Jonathan Mannion for sure, bro. Like he took so many dope pictures of a lot of my favorite artists, man. Outkast, you know what I'm saying?
So everybody you could think of.
Yeah, like, you know, but good quality too. And my next cat, I'm gonna have to say Jamel Shabazz, bro.
You just naming goats after goats.
You know what I'm saying? Super goats, bro. And he's cold, bro.
Yeah, like, I know he humble. Based on the interviews I've seen, humble dude.
Super cold, man. And like his images kind of allow me to see myself within the space of lifestyle photography. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like what they might call street photography or whatever, but just the spontaneity of his moments. You know what I'm saying? The subjects that he captures, bro, is just like he does a good job of just highlighting us in our element. You know what I mean?
And he was able to capture a moment in time, because not so many photographers was doing that from even the late 70s, 80s, and early 90s, or even the early 2000s. Like, you know what I'm saying? That whole era. And that's a street photographers. It's kind of like we didn't really have I mean, we had people that was doing it, but it wasn't like to the degree of what Jamel Shabazz was doing. But on top of that, we from the South, so it's kind of a little bit harder to like get everybody in one accord versus in New York. It's like everybody down to take a picture.
Out and about, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so just, again, his Metropolis experience, right? It was just dope to see just the character of Black people, down to the style, the Kazals, you know what I'm saying? The Dookies,
all that.
The tracksuits, all of that shit, man. It was real fresh to see. So I'll say, man, it's a gang of other folks too, but I'll say off top right now, man, those are my three, my starters.
Yeah. You know, everybody, you know, I had a conversation with one of my friends, and he was saying, I was telling him I met Estevan Oriol.
Okay, yeah, he's a cold cat too. Very cold.
And me and him, for the first time in Miami, you know, through a friend, I was just like, yo, this is Estevan Oriol. Everybody gets starstruck when it comes down to celebrities, but with me, it's photographers, because it's like, yo, I put treatments off of your pictures. You know what I'm saying?
Mad inspo.
Yeah, so it's just crazy. And just like Jonathan Mannion, when I met him, it was just like, damn, this Jonathan Mannion. Like, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that he explained each picture and how that came about is just crazy how that even happens.
Yeah, for sure.
So when was the breaking point when you was like, all right, I want to really take photography more serious?
Man, I'll say,
and as well as video as well.
Yeah,
too.
So that's the thing, man. Like, I think more people know me as a photographer, but my goal is really to just be heavier as a filmmaker, you know. But the two mediums, they coincide. You know what I mean? So I think
let's talk about it. Let's talk about you know, the film aspect of it and how that came about in your life.
So film, man, film. I always been a movie head. You know what I mean? Like I was young, watching movies like Juice.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? A movie like Juice really shaped a lot of my perspective. Is like the style of filmmaking that I wanted to do, and just of course Spike. You know what I'm saying? But you know, like seeing it do the right thing for the first time, just the colors, man, just beyond the vibrance. It was just it was just so many elements outside of the story that was engaging. But kind of going down the rabbit hole of who's who and what it takes to make a film, you know. So like a movie like Juice with Ernest Dickerson, who is, you know, Spike's cinematographer on a lot of those films. It's like you see the thread and you see who's contributing what. You dig what I'm saying? So like, and then also just being a huge, again, hip hop fan, Hype Williams. You know what I'm saying? Seeing the cinematic value that he brought to just music videos and like having a 3-minute film essentially, like quality. You dig? So I think those are some of my early influences as far as like realizing that, okay, I want to get into film. But photography is just kind of like, that's the alley-oop. You know what I'm saying?
Because it kind of correlates.
It does, because photography, again, is just still frame, but like that's what I think it develops your aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? And the way that you want to capture your stories and your subjects, etc. But yeah, as far as like film, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
I was just saying, like, you know, let's talk about your start into film and what got you into film.
Yeah. So, again, high school, you know, like I would just be shooting little videos, you know, and I taught myself how to edit on Windows Movie Maker. Windows Movie Maker, man, that was my joint. So, you know, every week I just kind of like shoot a little something here and there, man, and then, you know, edit it, put my little graphics and stuff on there, and you know, I was kind of known for that. But then you get older, I had wanted to go to NYU, you know what I'm saying, to have a hands-on experience, but you know, it didn't really work out like that. You know, I'd also applied to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. This is before they had the Atlanta campus, man, and I actually got in, but this is also around the time, man, when the economy crashed, bro.
Like 08.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like leading up until when I graduated, it was just that we just wasn't in a position to pay that kind of bread, you know? So that forced me to continue my process of being self-taught, and I'm thankful for that, you know what I mean? Because I honestly feel like had I gone to any kind of institution, man, it would have watered down that raw element of just my creativity in a way, you know what I'm saying? It's always good to have that formal training on it, but I think there's something real significant about just innate vision and craft that...
And building a story under your films as well.
Right. So I think that whole reroute as far as my collegiate experience went kind of thrust me into the real world quicker, you know what I'm saying, where I'm finding gigs, trying to find my way on set to be as hands-on as possible, and in the interim just kind of shooting little stuff here and there and continuing to teach myself how to work with different mediums, and then even getting heavy into archiving and stuff like that, and creating pieces off of archival work, which was, at the time when I started, it wasn't no real language for that. It wasn't really a thing for real, you know what I mean? It was just me kind of playing around. I found like VHS tapes and would digitize it, and then like, all right, I'm gonna cook something up off of this, you know what I mean? And it's almost like painting, right? Where the content that you, or the archival material that you're drawing is your palette, the colors on your palette. And it's like, all right, how you gonna paint it to where the colors or the visuals are in cohesion with each other and tell a story, you know?
And even if you think about it, and this is me going to school for commercial art and just chilling with homies that's in film, and understanding color grading is very important. And, you know, and understanding that the colors into the film, it sets the mood of the film. And it's not even only just film, just colors in general. Like colors goes by moods, different moods. Like the cripple sign with the wheelchair, like that's you know, by having that color, it's a storyline behind that color, you know. So it makes sense on that. And film, you got to be very into like storytelling when it comes down to, you know, film, and that's what honestly what's his name, Spike Lee was good at, you know, telling that story from, especially around that time in the late 80s, around you know, Do the Right Thing, and it was like, yo, every black person was going through that, or to this day, of what's going on, you know what I'm saying? So so when speaking on the film side, when did you start? Would you say that film and photography, that's when around that time, would you say you started taking it more seriously, or?
Okay, yeah. So around the time, man, I'll say that was like 2015 or so. At that point, you know, a lot, you know, I'm past the college era, you know what I'm saying? So like homies done graduated from college and we in the real world for real now. So at that point it was like, all right, you really gotta buckle down and like figure out how you gonna continue to connect these dots, you know, because my route has been the road less traveled, you know. So I was working on, I would manage to just find my way on set in Atlanta, you know, doing PA work and stuff like that. But I just always felt like I was working harder and not smarter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't even really getting the hands-on experience that I desired. It was more do-boy work, like go get the ice, go get the cooler, go make a run, whoop-de-whoop, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, by the end of the day, man, I'm beat, I'm tired, and I ain't really,
you didn't really get hands-on what you really wanted to.
Exactly, and it's just so much politics, man, in that atmosphere, and just like, you know, just the level, the hierarchy, right, that exists within that structure, man. It doesn't really allow you to comfortably explore those things. So I gotten into a space where it's like, man, I need to figure out how I'm going to just take it to another level, because here I am in Atlanta and I feel like I'm hitting the ceiling as a creative, you know. I'm still doing like my own personal projects and passion projects. I'm working heavy in the archives, but I'm not really in an atmosphere or a network that even knows what I'm doing to support it, you know. So how can I get away and expound? And I always saw myself going to New York, doing the whole New York thing, right? Yeah. But it ain't go down like that. I ended up coming out to LA, man.
But it makes sense though, and not to cut you off, but by being in LA with these last 2 weeks, understand the lighting aspect of why films are over here versus like going to places like Florida or like New York and stuff like that.
It's a consistency, right? So yeah, I'd gotten back to a space where it's like, man, do I need to go back to school or figure out how to get into school? But I don't got the bread for that. I'm not trying to be an in dead ass nigga, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can I do this? So I just did some research, man, and I found this program at UCLA. Actually, what kind of hit me to UCLA's program was studying the LA Rebellion, man, which was like the first group of black filmmakers to come through UCLA in the late 70s. And basically, they all, you know, independently worked on each other's films, man, and made some really beautiful work, man. One of the standout films from that era was called Killer Sheep by Charles Burnett. And studying their process kind of just made me I was more inclined to like see what's up with UCLA. They got the #1 film and television archive, so I was like, oh man, that's gonna be archival heaven. Let me see what's up with them, man. So I applied to this, it was like a 6-week program, film and television program that brought me out here and allowed me to stay on the campus and like really kind of spread out. And from that experience, man, that's what kind of like opened me up to what LA had to offer. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of you moving to LA, how was it? Like, as in like the perspective of, you know, a lot of people talk about either moving to New York or LA. Like, what was that stepping stone that made you like, okay, now it's officially time to move and stuff like that? And why?
It was again, that feeling of
freedom,
that or desiring freedom, you know. Like, I was so where I was at in Atlanta, bro, just the headspace I was in at that time was just like real stuck, you know. Like, I ain't know where else to go, you know what I mean? And also, when you're born and raised somewhere, you know, people don't understand Atlanta's a very small place, you know, contrary to the way it's projected. It's this big, bro. You know what I'm saying? And when you're born and raised in that space, it's real hard for you to see the newness in it every day. Get up and feel encouraged and motivated to like explore. You know what I mean? It's
like the inspiration don't come to you. You gotta find it.
You know. So in addition to that, just like my surroundings was just everything's familiar. You know what I mean? Like everything was just, I'm accustomed to it all.
Seeing the same thing every day.
Same thing, same places, same people. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, I'm stagnant. I was feeling stagnant, and it was just one of them situations, bro, where it's like, man, I'm about to just bust a move. And like I said, I didn't think I was gonna go to LA. I thought I was gonna do the New York thing, but LA just ended up working out, man. And I didn't even tell many people that I was going because, you know, people they'll discourage you. You know what I'm saying, based on their fears.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Especially suffering people.
For sure, because not to diss nobody, but like we tend to be closed-minded in that way, because you know a lot of people ain't been outside of a certain radius. So when you're talking about going across the country on something just on a whim, people gonna look at you crazy. You know what I mean? Like even family might.
Yeah.
So that was one of them things that internally I was suppressing that, but I knew that was the next chapter for me that I had to break. I had to bust a move real quick to just thrust myself into a situation where I had to build myself from the ground up, and that take a lot of faith. You know what I'm saying? That take a lot of
courage at that.
Courage, you know what I'm saying? And I think, bro, just where I was at again in Atlanta, bro, it was like it's now or never. You know, it was one of those sink or swim situations, bro. And I ain't about to sink. You know what I'm saying? So
all money in.
Exactly, no money out, bro. So I thrust my whole self into that time of coming out here, man, and just being humble. You know, humbling myself to the surroundings. And I've always felt like a nomad anyways, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I can go anywhere and be straight. You know what I mean?
Especially where we came from.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not tripping off none of that. I think the problem that a lot of people run into is they don't humble themselves, bruh, to either that or they just don't come from nowhere. That got no real culture to it. But I think when you move like a nomad, bruh, and you in a space that you're not native to, you really gotta humble yourself to that surrounding and get to know the people and the places that you have to really appreciate it and see it through the lens that they do.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And then you'd be surprised like how that energy is reciprocated and how the universe itself will just like guide you and lead you into certain opportunities and circumstances, and how spontaneity will just have its way in your whole process. You know what I mean? To just show you the way. So that was my pivot, you know, at that point in time.
So what would you say was your first ever shoot that you ever did in the photography room and the film room?
That was like for real?
For real. Like your first ever. I learned, you know, taking pictures of nature and everything, but now I'm photographing people. I remember you said something about, you know, the MySpace days, you just end up getting a white wall and all that stuff. But
I'll say what hit me to like knowing I could do this shit was back in Atlanta, man, when like 2010, bro, that summer after high school was crazy, bro. Like music was fire.
Yeah.
You talking about, bro, you had Currency coming out, you had
even
Wiz, all of that. So at that point in time, man, I was hitting up all of them concerts, bro. So I was doing concert photography heavy, and I was seeing some of the images that I was, you know, taking was like making it to the blogs, you know what I'm saying? And niggas was actually fucking with it and wanting to, hey, yo, send me that type shit. I remember one time, it was a Thanksgiving concert at Greenbrier Mall. Not Greenbrier. Yeah, it was Greenbrier. At Greenbrier Mall with Gucci Mane.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Gucci Mane and Waka was out there, bro. And I had took a photo of Gucci, and that shit was hard. You know what I'm saying? It was another picture of Waka that was just like fire, bro. And they was going crazy on Tumblr. And I think that was, obviously I didn't get paid for that, but it just gave me the confidence of knowing, okay, I got an eye for this shit. You know what I'm saying? And I can make timeless moments. I'll say film-wise, man.
I know that's a hard question.
That's a hard one because I don't want to undermine no opportunity, but like, I'll say I got to work with Arthur Jaffa, man, and
really,
Malik Saeed.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I got to work on them for something, man, for when we was back doing the 444 campaign.
Oh word.
Yeah, we actually shot that out here in Leimert, man.
And that was like what? That should have been like 2015.
Yeah, that was probably like 3 years ago now. 2-3 years ago or so.
Yeah. Nah, that was in 2016. It had to be like 17.
17, yeah.
How was that experience?
It was cool, man, because it was like, you know, I'm a huge fan of that whole circuit, bro. You know what I mean? And learning about that creative circle inspired me a lot in my process too, to just like, all right, keep doing what you're doing, because it's like you got OGs, you know what I'm saying, who been in it and they doing it similar to how you doing it, and you know what I mean, you get to come up and work under them.
And they understand the big picture.
Exactly, understand the big picture, man. But that experience was dope. Because I mean, again, like a movie like Belly, you know what I mean, like crazy, right?
Yeah.
So seeing like Malik at work, seeing his genius in that process, man, it was dope. And the whole set was black people, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's very rare. Very rare. So I was like, wow, it can be done. You know what I'm saying? So I'll say that was like one of my first like big, you know, opportunities of just being able to kind of like have some insight on that, you know.
How would you describe your photography style and film style as a whole? Because you have a very distinct style. The way you capture moments, it's like it makes you want to feel like it feels like you want to be there, or I missed out. You know what I'm saying? So how would you describe your style?
Man, I'll say it's definitely it's a documentary component to it. You know what I'm saying? I'll say like I really love to capture black joy. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about black joy and black majesty, bro, and like capturing the spontaneous energy of our people in moments of celebration. I'll say that even on a level of just the diaspora is concerned, you know, I want to capture those moments that are innate to us as far as like how we communicate. We may not even acknowledge that all the time, bro, but it's like when you see it in a photograph, it's familiar to you. You know what I mean?
Well, no matter where you at in region.
Exactly. You can acknowledge that moment or that whatever is in that frame as something that's familiar to you, and that's a language that we have that's just is really nonverbal. You know what I mean? So I'll say, I'm into just capturing that authenticity, bro. Just the
realness.
The realness, man, the rawness, and sometimes it's hard for me to articulate, bro, because when I do it, it's just like I want the work to speak for it. You know what I'm saying? It's a picture really does
speak, you know what I'm saying? Speak 1,000 words. Literally.
So, you dig what I'm saying? So like and I think sometimes articulating it might water it down for the viewer too. You know what I'm saying? It puts it in that box. So I kind of like to leave it open for interpretation, man. And I'm still developing, you know what I'm saying, my language on it as well. You know,
on the, like, you know, especially when we photographers like us that shoot film. And you know, we have, and this is the next question I'm gonna ask, but you know, especially like with film, you gotta take it to the developers and have them develop it, or either you develop it on your own as well too, and having that storyline, like, damn, I remember capturing this, and you remember that moment in time, and literally you'll probably spend a whole week trying to like get everything done and scanning and shit like that. But when it comes down to film, like film photography, like how do you feel about that as a photographer like yourself? Because you know, obviously you shoot film, but how do you, in your own words, why do you love film?
Man, I love film for a lot of reasons, bro. I think film really captures that essence, man, that digital can't really do. It can't match that, right? And I'm big, as I get further into my career, man, and just the process, I realize that sometimes we get hung up on technology. You know what I'm saying? We like to use the latest, greatest equipment and feel like that's the end all be all for our product,
like
right?
a cheat code.
It's the cheat code, and it's not, bro, because if you think about it, man, let's consider your baby pictures. Your baby pictures are shot on disposables and, like, you know what I'm saying, film cameras. So film just has a texture about it, man, and it's like a spirit within it. And I think as a photographer, it's sharpened me in my process, because now you gotta have a more keen, you gotta be more intentional, right, as far as like your decision making as to why you want to photograph that, because it ain't no redo. You only got so many frames, you know what I'm saying? So it sharpens your thought process, it sharpens your eye, your composition, you know what I mean? And the more that you do it, you begin to like apply that formula to the moment, you know what I'm saying, whether it be the lighting or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You can apply that formula. So I think it just makes you a more I think well-rounded creative as a photographer when you shoot on film. You know what I mean? I respect the process for sure.
What photography books would you say it has to be one of your favorites? Because there's a lot of good photography books.
Dang, bro, that's a hard one, bro. I mean, I'll tell you some joints that I got. Shout out to Melody McDaniel. She got one on the Compton Cowboys.
I think I seen you like posted something. Like, or somebody
man,
posted.
I got to give propers. Polo the photographer, man.
Polo
Silk, the great. Okay, pop that.
You got it?
I do.
Shout
out to Polo, man.
Yeah, shout out to Polo, because I actually reached out to him to get a book, but I've been lazy. I ain't gonna lie,
Polo's booming, man, as he should, because Polo. You know what? I should have mentioned Polo earlier too when we was talking about Polo, man. He's OG out of New Orleans, capturing, you know, the golden era of New Orleans nightlife, all on Polaroid film.
The backdrops,
everything, man. The style, just really, that's another go-to as far as like encompassing black joy, man, and like the black majesty of our people, that's unmatched. And I think his book is tight, bro. Like, you know, I did a project with him, for him earlier in this year with Black Archives, man, where I really just got to go down a rabbit hole of all his moments, man. And he has like an inexhaustible supply of culture, bro, and just content. And it's just like he's still going and going and going. And I mean,
and he's very like he's still around, like he's still,
you know, humble dude. And a salute to Polo for that, man, because that's an OG of mine now. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he's embraced me in that way, man. And I look to him with a lot of reverence. You know what I'm saying? But another book that's tight. Jamel Shabazz's book.
Yeah, back in the days.
Yeah,
right?
back in the days is tight. I got the Gordon Parks joint. I can't remember the title.
He got so many.
Yeah, he got so many.
I got the
one is Half Past Autumn. That's fire.
That was fire.
I got the other one. I can't remember the cat coming out the manhole. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I forgot the name as well.
Also shout out to Roy Decarava, man. That's an OG too, man. Who has a crazy lineage of work, man. Was doing it in the early 1900s. You know what I'm saying? Like the OG for real, working with the shadows. You know what I'm saying? So he's definitely a GOAT as well, man.
You know who I don't know the photographer's name, but it's one photographer that used to document a lot of black culture in Chicago, and I feel like Chicago don't really have like they don't really tell, not them as a whole in Chicago, but they don't have like the medium that, you know, we want to see as in like the black culture out there, but we know that it's out there. You know what I'm saying? From an outside perspective looking in, I feel like I want to see more like the Chicago black Midwest. Right. You know what I'm saying? I feel you. Especially like around this rim of like, you know, what happened to, you know, George Floyd, you know, in Minnesota and stuff like that, and how like the black culture is very slim to none. But what would you say has to be like the biggest roadblocks as being a photographer and as well as a filmmaker as well too?
Man, I'm gonna say realizing that the medium of photography is not dominated by black people
at all.
That industry, the film industry, media in general, is not dominated by black people. So it's constantly this process of, you know, getting in where you fit in, you know what I'm saying, and the politics that exist that will kind of make it a challenging situation as far as the gatekeepers are concerned who have these opportunities. And, you know, a major frustration is just seeing like, you know, there'll be white people that get the opportunity to come shoot our culture before we're even tapped into.
Don't even get me started with that.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? It's very frustrating, but I think what that does in turn is it just makes you create your own table. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Build your own chair, top to bottom. You dig what I'm saying? So like, what that does, what I've learned in that process is like when you create your own thing that's outside of any of these industries or these entities, is that it stirs up the fish. And then the fish, you know what I'm saying, they want to come see what's stirring up the fish. And then that's how you draw in your opportunity. You know what I'm saying? But you still got your own shit going on. You know what I mean? Which is priority. So I think that's how I counter that. It's definitely frustrating, the obstacles of just, you know, the race relations within this, man. I think right now it's a sensitive time too. I think people are beginning to acknowledge that, you know, that is a bias that exists within our sphere. That hopefully, you know what I'm saying, we'll probably get more opportunities or be presented those opportunities, but I'm not gonna lean on that either. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna let that deter me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just keep building my own shit and doing my own shit and letting the work speak for itself. I think that's the loudest that you can be in the room, man, is letting the work speak for you.
Yeah, and we were just talking about that earlier, like with, you know, you like saying like you're not really like, you know, putting in a niche of how your style is. You just let your work speak for yourself. What would you say it has to be one of your favorite films that you watch over time and you just be like, oh my God, this is like...
I mean, that's an easy call, bro. It's between Belly and Juice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like...
Other than those two, because that's easy. That's too easy.
All right, let's see. All right, there's this film by this cat named Chris Marker, man, French New Wave filmmaker. It's called Sans Soleil. It's called Sunless. And it's basically a film essay, if you will. It's non-linear, man, and it's just kind of like touching on different cultures and the people within these different cultures. And the narration is beautiful, it's very poetic. But that's a film that I watch, and I always see something new in it, you know. And I think that inspired a lot of how I edit too, as a non-linear kind of editor, getting real experimental. You know what I'm saying?
How do you watch films? Like, you know, I hear people like Kobe, actually, R.I.P. to Kobe. He even mentioned that, and my bad to cut you off.
No, you good.
But he was mentioning like he has to really watch movies 3 times, I believe. Don't misquote me, but he said the first time he goes by the story, the second time he goes by the lighting, and the third time I forgot what he said, but how I watch the movies, this is like I hear the storyline, but I think I'll just look at it last, but I look at the lighting. But how do you watch movies in your perspective?
Man, I think I'm paying attention to the cinematography and the editing. I think that's what I'm tapping into. Like, all right, when are they cutting? Like, how are they cutting on action? Like, what, you know what I'm saying? How is it transition? And then sometimes I like to watch the movie with no volume, bro, like no sound, you know what I'm saying? Because that's when it really, real talk, that's a louder way to watch the film, bro, because everything is amplified visually, you know what I'm saying, for you to really break down stylistically what's going on. And then, you know, I'll say in cohesion with just paying attention to the editing, obviously you're listening to the storyline, you know, you're paying attention to that. But similar to like how I am with books, bro, sometimes I don't want to watch the whole film in one sitting. You know what I'm saying? I want to watch enough to get the gist of like, all right, how it's moving, and I go watch something else, and then I go watch something else, and then I'll come back to it. You know what I mean?
That's respect, though. That's
respect. And it's like by the end of that process, you know what I'm saying? I've drawn so much inspiration and creative inspiration to create something as you know, as a conglomerate of all of those references, you know what I mean, or have an idea where I can incorporate all of those references to a degree. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What would a Russell Hamilton movie be?
Man, I don't even know if I'm ready to let that cat out the bag, bro. But I will say this though, man. I feel like it's imperative that I shoot something. I mean, I'm in the works on doing it, but as far as scale, right? It's imperative that I shoot something in Atlanta, man, and in honor of old Atlanta, specifically the golden era days of Atlanta. It's a lot of there's so many influences that the city has that I think so many people overlook, man. That's the origin of where that came from. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody know Atlanta's tight, but like I feel like as a story needs to be told from somebody that was a native that was really there, you know what I mean? And then same thing goes for Jamaica. I think Jamaica, there's so much history, bro, and cultural richness there that I often see like a lot of the films, they just work within the box of some shatas type shit, you know what I mean? Drug shit. And it's like, man, it's so much more to the culture, man, that we want to see accurately. I don't want you to cast nobody with no fake accent. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just ethical things that I feel like again that dual perspective that I have, man, that I want to be able to tap into and draw from and create on a level of scale. You're not just some straight to a BET movie type shit. Like some real blockbuster type shit.
That's crazy you mentioned that, because if you think about it, back in them times, like in the early, maybe mid 2000s, 2010s, majority of the good movies that's good to us, or even mediocre, they go straight to BET, or
they don't get the just due, the platform that they probably deserve, man, to for the people to really experience it. So I think as a filmmaker, man, a Russell Hamilton film, you're gonna see some scale, man. Coming soon, very soon.
So, you know, going back to the photography aspect, one of my favorite campaigns that you done was the Union and Dickies collaboration.
Yeah, get off my Dickies.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Trillavelli, man.
Most definitely. Even his style was just, it fits him. Yeah. And you put in a perspective of an Atlanta perspective. Right. Versus like, you know, being in LA. Yeah. And the way that he was wearing pink. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? With a pink cup. So talk about that.
So man, that shoot, bro. Shout out to Chris Gibbs, man, and Beffy. You know, that was working there was a cool experience because it really got me to. I feel like I've always been a stylish cat, you know what I'm saying? But that working there really kind of allowed me to explore how fashion is also a medium, an art medium, you know? And specifically when they had that collaboration with Dickies, I knew that I had to shoot that in Atlanta, coming out of the era when the Dickies was going crazy. Like Atlanta got its own Dickies era. That's something else that I always appreciate about LA is just the similarities in the culture, man, of eras, and like we're really like cousins, bro. You know, like historically though, we migrated from the South out here.
It's either what I noticed a lot of people either in the South either went to LA or Miami.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people from Alabama, Georgia, like Memphis and all that went to like Miami or Florida as a whole because I guess the opportunities was like a little bit more around that time, especially specifically like in the 50s, 60s, and 70s around that time.
Yeah, just as far as like opportunity was concerned, man, land, you know, property, all of that. So that migration occurred. But to the Dickies though, man, I wanted to, when that came out, it was a blue colorway, it was the pink colorway, and it was like some white. And I just knew the pink, bro. Like I was like, I got to do it, and I already knew from jump that I was like, yo, I hit my boy up. I was like, bro, Nakari, bro, we got to shoot this. You know what I'm saying? He was like, you know, it's easy call. Yeah. That's the cat who I always love photographing because that's his aesthetic is in cohesion with the era that I grew up in. You know what I'm saying? Like that
Even
90s.
With the glasses.
You know what I'm saying? That 90s, the Southern player style.
Yeah.
And I knew that the Dickies store that was there was very popular. You know what I'm saying? It's a big and tall store. But you know, you can go in there, and you gotta think about the era too. Like we was wearing oversized clothes, bro.
Yeah, we was.
You know what I'm saying? And it's run by two older ladies, man. They both sisters. So going there that day, man, it was just so authentic, man. Like inside of it is still old fashioned. It's like wood panel walls, burgundy carpet. You know what I'm saying? Just real warm Southern vibes, man. It's like when I got out there, it was a cat out there cutting the grass. You know, and actually, the pink cup, man, that was Chilavelli's car, man. He got the Sobe. He went and got the Sobe at the gas station, man. It was just a perfect compliment to the fit, man, and it fit him perfectly. It looked great on him. And again, just wanted to capture that aesthetic, that Southern style, that eloquence, though. You know what I'm saying? That you can be classy and out the South. In a vibrant pink Dickie suit, you know what I'm saying?
And I like the fact that it was in Atlanta. That's one thing, because I feel like from an outside perspective, we don't see that enough in a stylistic way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
and that was just a play that I had to catch, man. Like I knew that, you know, I take pride in being from Atlanta, and I knew that if I was to shoot that out here in LA,
it'd be like,
you know, it's regular. But you take that to Atlanta where we was really wearing that shit. It's gonna hit, you know what I'm saying? That's definitely one of my favorite photo shoots to date as well.
So so let's talk about Hamilton Multimedia and what's behind it, the venture.
So Hamilton Multimedia is that's something with me and my brothers, man. Like I said, I got two older brothers, and I got two sisters as well. And like that's kind of our conglomerate, you know, business where we do everything from photography to videography to graphic design, illustration, website development, all of that, you know.
Team.
Yeah, I'm definitely blessed to just have siblings who are also creative, you know. But as an entity, you know, I think, you know, I still have to, I'm the youngest too, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I got to kind of carve my own lane as an individual. And that was something else that branching out here allowed me to do, to kind of like make a name in a lane for myself as Russell Hamilton, you know. But Hamilton Multimedia, man, it's so much in store for that, bro. Just as far as like publications, you know what I'm saying, film, etc.
It sounds like obviously like a family business on top of that, but it's like a generational,
for sure. That's exactly
wealth type of situation.
That's exactly what it is, man. We trying to definitely keep that under the Hamilton name, you know what I'm saying, and build on that, some legacy.
So let's talk about, I was actually, you know, watching this, you know, kind of like a couple days before I got here. The little collage you did, Atlanta Darker Than Blue, how did that came about? Because I'm not gonna lie, when I'm not even from Atlanta, but knowing about Atlanta, being in Atlanta, having family in Atlanta, and just seeing that, I ain't gonna lie, it gave me the chills.
Word.
It gave me the chills, my brother, because it's like, you gotta like actually live in Atlanta and be in Atlanta to understand how that collage went. So let's talk about the collage and how that came about.
Yeah, so that was another project, man, that I did with my good friend, longtime collaborator, Renata, who runs Black Archives.
Shout outs to her, by the way.
Shout out, man, big shout out. That's a day one right there. So basically that Atlanta Darker Than Blue came after a series of projects that we did, man. The very first video collage project that I did was called Time Shift the 90s. Right, and that shit went crazy on Tumblr. that's how I met Renata through that project, man. She was one of the first people to just give me my propers on that. Again, at a time where I didn't know what I was really doing. I just knew that I got mad idle time and I'm about to teach myself how to make creative shit.
Yeah.
And basically what happened was I had found a VHS tape that my eldest brother had. And this is back in the day where, you know, when you record TV, bro, you record it on the VHS, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And by definition, that's called time shifting. So basically what was on that VHS was like a gang of just 90s shit, bro. Like whatever was on TV. It was like the 96 Olympics was on there. Wow. You had Soul Train with Aaliyah. You had like Teen Summit, Outkast. You had like Deion Sanders on the 49ers, you know what I'm saying, football games and shit. Like all type of stuff, bro. And so basically I was like, yeah, let me compile like what 30 minutes of TV would look like just off of what's on this VHS stuff, you know, commercials, incorporate commercials, interviews, all of that stuff. And then we did a project called Black Superman. That was, the premise was, what if Superman grew up as a black boy in America? And that was a video collage of just like archive moments of just, you know, the struggle, bro, just the civil rights era. This was also created around the time of like Trayvon Martin, man. So that was just a way for me to kind of communicate to the situation. And then after that came Atlanta Darker Than Blue, which was, the premise of that was to explore the first new Atlanta. So, you know, you hear me say old Atlanta a lot, right? Well, that was the first new Atlanta post Dr. King. You know, once we lost Dr. King, Atlanta was in a situation, in a space of like, all right, how do we go forward now? You know what I mean? What's our trajectory? And so much history happened, bro, between, you know what I'm saying, losing Dr. King up until the 90s, that I had to just create that timeline, you know what I'm saying, of just the progression. So it goes from losing Dr. King into, you had affirmative action with Maynard Jackson, you know what I'm saying, in Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, which is a huge thing, you know what I'm saying. Then you fast forward some more, you got like Hank Aaron, you got like the Atlanta child murders that was all going on at the same time, and then you get up into, you know what I'm saying, like the 90s where Atlanta is growing into a more metropolis place. We get Outkast, you know, we really got a foot in the door as far as like hip hop artists. The Source Awards, you know what I'm saying, the South got something to say. The 96 Olympics, which was huge. You know what I'm saying? Like really think about that. The Centennial Olympic Games was held in Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah. You feel me? So
even when you go by downtown and seeing all the monuments of it, it was just like, oh damn, like, people forget, like,
you know what I'm saying? It was here, it was there, and I remember just being a young bull, you know what I'm saying, going to go see Michael Johnson, bro, like, you know what I'm saying, that was freaking. That whole era was just like, you talking about Black Majesty, bro, that was that
era,
you know what I'm saying, it was an era for real. So that project was to just kind of like, it was an homage to Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, in conjunction with Renata's archival work. You know, the way we team up is like, you know, she'll go research her batch of images and content, I'll do the same, we meet in the middle, and I just kind of like sew it all up in that way. And the soundtrack, Curtis Mayfield, Darker Than Blue, man, who's also a Southern OG.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
I'll be diamond in the back.
You already know, man.
All right, so we got a few more questions. So what's next for Russell Hamilton?
Man, we got some stuff in the works, bro. We gonna have some films on deck very soon. We gonna have some publications, some books coming out.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's time for it, bro. Like, I'm always blessed because, you know, I created a zine when I first moved out here, man, the Lowrider joint, and it's still circulating. People still rocking with it. So I just feel like I owe it to myself to really deliver something that's a little bit more hardy than that. You know what I'm saying? It's like an actual book of the work that I've been doing. So that's kind of at the top of my list. Again, like I said, film coming out. Man, you might even get some music out the game, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Stay tuned.
I can't wait for that too.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, bro. Above all, man, I'm just trying to continue to like develop myself, bro, as a creative, man, and just again tap into just that mental health, man, and sustaining that. I think that's our most valuable currency right now is a good headspace.
Yeah, most
You know what I'm saying? That beats anything. I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not trying to hop back into the hamster wheel of you gotta put out work, you gotta put out work, you gotta put out work, you gotta put out work. You know what I'm saying? This quarantine has really allowed me to like slow down a little bit.
Even putting it on the gram.
Yeah, like, bro. I say this all the time. The work that we are doing and the amount of effort that goes into the work that we're creating is beginning to surpass the platforms of Instagram and social media in general. You You know what I'm saying? The climate is different again. So it's like you owe it to yourself to make sure that your work has a longer lifespan and a longer shelf life than the 24-hour algorithm of the gram. You dig? Yeah. So I'm in the same space, man, when it comes to just sharing. Like, I'll share with the gram, but you're not getting the heat.
Yeah, the heat.
Nah, if you think what's on the gram is the heat, it's so much more in store. You know what I'm saying? But I think it just, you also got to get to that point as a creative, man, where you got to delegate your work a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? You can't be so easily accessible and just have everything out. You gotta honor the value of your work.
Yeah.
So I think having all of that in mind, man, that's just that's the trajectory for me in these days.
So what advice would you tell the people for the same people that want to take the similar path as you?
Man, I'm a try to quote the great Kerry James Marshall, man. Mm-hmm. He said something along the lines of, there's no situation or circumstance that should prevent you from creating. Always create.
Every day, all day.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you need to take a break, take your break. But create. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because the universe just has a way of, like, yeah, you might be creating blindly, bro, but the universe just has a way of making that piece that you did just off the humble, making it very relevant for the time. Mm-hmm. So I'll say to anybody out there, man, like, who, again, you know, shout out to the late great Nip. You know what I'm saying? It's a marathon for real. Literally. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's you got to keep putting in the work, man. It's a daily effort to contribute, man. And I think once you do that with some integrity, and when you're mindful of and intentional of what you're doing, man, with purpose, like, you'll just see how things will just kind of fall into place and be relevant and be right on time for what the folks needed, man. So just always create, man, and don't get discouraged, bro, by the quote-unquote powers that be in the gatekeepers, man. Like, create your own opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Anything fast is bad.
Word.
You know what I'm saying?
Straight up.
Yeah, so, you know, anything fast is bad. But so how can the people get in contact with you?
Man, you can tap in with me on the gram at Russham. That's RUSSHAM. You know, that's kind of where I'm at for now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The website, same thing, russham.com. Yeah. But like I said, stay tuned. It's gonna be some other ways you can reach me.
I can't wait.
In the near future.
All right, y'all. This is episode 34 with Russell Hamilton, man.
100,
and
man.
I appreciate your time, for real. And you know, this is like my first time meeting, but we've been in contact for a long time.
Already. Solid cat right here, man. He doing a lot of the work. He doing it, man. He doing it.
Appreciate it. Episode 34. We out.
100. Peace.